everything. So Jesus showed that grown man, you've been sinning all along. You think you live a perfect life, but you don't. So as a grown man, that's when he discovered, oh, I am a sinner. I've been sinning all along. And he used covetousness. Jesus used covetousness as an example to Paul. So you think you fulfill the law, you think you do everything right, but you aren't.
This opinion you made about a year ago, you can't rise above what you don't know or your knowledge that you have.
Right.
So when the knowledge now comes, and you recognize that thought in your mind.
Right, and then he's got a decision how he's going to act on it.
Right.
Okay. I believe Paul became angry at that point and began to persecute Jesus. Began to persecute the church. Because you're saying I'm a sinner, you're saying that everything I've been doing all these years is wrong, I'm mad at you. So if we continue to read in Romans chapter 7, that's what he begins to say, that he became angry after he discovered covetousness, and that he produced all manner of evil in him. He became this terrible person. Now, Brother Calhoun will say, well, what about that other cool scripture? Psalm chapter 51, verse 5. Let's read that. Someone read that.
Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and sin my mother conceived me.
So this says that we think this says, I was born in sin. Now, does it say I was born a sinner? Right. David is saying, I was born and sin was surrounding me when I was born. That's like saying I was born into the world. The world, the way how the world thinks, I was all around me. Now, David is saying this right after he got busted by Nathan for sleeping with Bathsheba. The prophet Nathan came in and said, you've been sinning. And he's like, oh, I got to repent. You're right. That's a terrible thing. I thought it was okay to do that. David thought it's okay to do that. If you want something, go after it, because that's what the world taught him to do. Right? The world says it's okay. And the world I'm sorry?
Right.
Oh, the world teaches us, the world says, it's okay to get a hookup, and it's okay to do this, and if you have to go around the system, that's okay. The world says all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, what?
I don't know. I'm they go and make that and thinking I'm cool and that thing that you get. Is that what it's called? When you don't do it right, the right way, you kind of go around the system. Now they call it. Anyway, the world says it's okay to do all that stuff, and then people think it's okay. You go down the street and people go to you and okay, let me sell you these DVDs that I snuck in, and you just raise thinking, yeah, that's normal. Somebody else can spend $50 million making a movie, but you can go ahead and film it and you can profit off of it. Even though you didn't make that movie, you can sell copies of the DVD on the street, and you just think that's okay. Right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that we think is okay to do. So David thought it was okay to go after Bathsheba. That's okay, I'll just have her husband killed, and that's cool. So he says, I was born in iniquity. I was born into a sinful world. But he doesn't say I was born a sinner. And so that's how we misinterpret that scripture. In sin, my mother conceived. When I showed up, sin was all around me. So he's trying to explain to Nathan and everybody else, I was a victim. When I showed up, sin was all around me. But you're not born a sinner. And we need to not teach people that. Because some people have a baby, and then unfortunately that baby passes away, and oh no, my baby's in hell because he never got a chance to accept Christ. It's just like, that baby didn't get a chance to sin. That baby's not a sinner. That baby's in heaven right now, looking at you on the right and crying. So, we teach some weird stuff, and it causes psychological damage to people. Because they think, oh no, that person, they never got a chance to accept Christ, and now they're, well, no. So, let's look at Psalm 139, verse 13 through 14. This is David again.
For you formed my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb.
So who did this? Jesus. God formed, he said, so do we think that God formed sin? That God put sin into that mother? Well, the Church teaches that sometimes, that God created sin. You form man in their parts. But we teach, God made me a sinner. No, he made sin and put sin into that mother. No, it's just the opposite.
Could this be the fault of the writer? We could add some more words to it. I would have had a couple more views and clear.
Yes.
Translation that could have been
Yes, it could have been clearer.
Going into sin in this world. Going into
Exactly.
this world that was caused by that's toxic sin or whatever.
Right, right. But here's the other way around that. If we read the whole Bible, then we don't trip on little things like that. But people take things, like you're saying, out of context. If you just read that one sentence, you can interpret that way. But if you read the whole Bible, then you wouldn't think that. So we have to put things in context. Yes, sir.
Okay, so could this be the first chain of events of where the Pharisees, most spiritual religious people, took offense to what Jesus was saying?
Yes.
Nobody wants to be a sinner.
Yeah, they always are mad, because Jesus is telling all of them they're sinners.
Exactly.
Right? So I would investigate how we come into the world so that people understand that when you are born alive to God. You're born alive to God, and at a certain point, you make a choice to reject God. That's when you become sin. That's when sin. That's when you become a sinner. You're not born a sinner. Okay, so verse 14 of Psalm 139.
I will praise you for it.
So he says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. When God put me in my mother's womb, for you formed me in my inner parts, you covered me in my mother's womb, and I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. You made a wonderful thing when I was created. So Paul, I'm sorry?
That's going to be in Genesis.
Right.
But before that, it's kind of like the content that you're saying and how it's structured. Because I would clarify that. Now I have to read all of that and get this. Go back.
Right, but if you read Genesis, like I was saying earlier, Adam and Eve were not sinners until they sinned.
Right.
So right from the beginning, it's when they were given the choice to don't eat of the apple, then they sinned. That's when their relationship was broken. So if we look at that as the pattern, we would know we're not sinners until we sin. And a little baby can't sin. He doesn't even know what he's doing.
Then you're called a sinner thereafter.
Yes, once
Because you've done it. Yeah, you got labels.
Yeah, once you know what you consciously are rejecting God, you're deciding I'm going to live my own life, I'm going to do my own thing. That's when sin enters. And then you're at a certain age when you are aware of right and wrong, and you are going to choose wrong. That's when Paul said, that's when I died. I was alive, and that's when I died. Yes, sir.
This goes back to the same concept then that these people were adults. Adam and Eve, Paul.
Yeah, but Paul had been a sinner for a long time.
I understand that what I'm saying, but it just snaps. They all were adults.
Yes, Paul was an adult when Jesus pointed out that he'd been a sinner. But Adam and Eve, they weren't sinners until they sinned. Paul had been sinning for a long time. Adam and Eve were created adults. Paul was not created an adult, right? Paul was born a child just like you were. So Paul had been sinning since he was a child. Adam and Eve, God didn't make two babies and then wait 30 years. He created them adults. So they're unique. Adam and Eve became compared to anybody else. But God created them adults. But the rest of us, we came into the world as children. So Paul and Adam and Eve are not the same. But we can discuss that like you and I. Get on the phone and I'll make more sense. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it wasn't the tree, or the fruit on the tree that was evil. It wasn't money that was evil in Paul's case. It was disobeying.
Right. They were disobedient. It's their choice to do wrong when they knew to do right.
And having the conscience is knowing right and wrong.
Yes.
Right? And when you get the direct demand is don't. Then once you do,
Exactly.
then you done.
Exactly. That's very good. Right, exactly. So once somebody said, and like mama will say, don't do that. And again, some children go, okay. And some children will look right at you and just do it right in your face. That's amazing, always to me.
Yeah.
So that means they're sinners starting at 4, But other kids, it may not be to your 7, to your 8, you're not, whatever, but once you become conscious, I'm choosing to do that wrong thing. I know I'm not supposed to do it, but I want to do it because I decide it's right and wrong. You telling me it's wrong to do that, but I say it's right. And as soon as we make that choice, that's when we die. Because now we're making ourselves God. We determine what's right and wrong on earth. Okay, let's look at Galatians chapter 5, verse 17.
For the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish.
So here's what happened then. Once Adam and Eve sinned, their body began to die. Once you separate yourself from the light source, like plucking a banana off a tree, it starts to die.
Right.
Okay, so now their flesh has become mortal. Mortal means subject to death. Immortal means you won't die. Mortal simply means that flesh is going to die. So all they could pass on was flesh that was about to die, that was subject to die. So your flesh wants to do dead things. Anything that your flesh is telling you to do is going to hasten your death. Anything that the Spirit tells you to do will hasten your life, right? But your flesh says, have 20 more donuts. Go up to that person and slap them and tell them what you feel about. I mean, your flesh is drawn to things that will kill you.
Like this.
It's drawn to things that are going to kill, because it's dying and it only knows how to do dead things. We're stupid for listening to our flesh, because your flesh only knows how to do things that are going to lead to death, because it's dying. So the Spirit in you, though, it knows how to do, wants to do live things.
Would that be like the scripture says, let her kill it, but the spirit makes it alive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the Spirit, whatever the Spirit wants you to do, it's going to lead to prolonging your life. So there's a war going on. Once you get saved, the Spirit in you, which gets reconnected to God. So here's what happened. Once we got disconnected from God, you had the Spirit, but it was dead to God. You're just sitting there, right? But once you get reconnected to God, now you know how to do live things that are lead to your life. But your flesh is trying to get you to do dead things. So the flesh and the Spirit are warring against each other. We've been taught that what Adam and Eve passed on to us was spiritual death. What they passed on to us was dead flesh. Right? Your spirit is born alive. Your spirit, you're not born a sinner. Your spirit is born alive, but at a certain point, we sin by deciding I'm doing my own thing, and that's when the Holy Spirit disconnects. So if you listen to some children, they will say amazing things because they know the Spirit of God. Because they haven't disconnected yet. So some children, I'm not saying all, some children will come up and say, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this. Or she has stories about children praying for her, because they know God, and their spirit is still alive to God. They have not disconnected yet. So a friend of mine, when I was in Bible college, this family dropped off someone who was visiting them at the airport. Person got on the plane. Their child, 5 or 6-year-old child, was in the back seat, asleep. This was the 70s. You could leave your child in the back seat and go to the airport, drop off your friend, and come back in the car. So the child never saw the person get on the plane or anything like that. He was just staying asleep in the back seat. As they're driving off, the child woke up and said, well, where's Uncle so-and-so? Oh, well, he's on the plane. But doesn't he know that plane's going to crash? And it did. The child knew, but the child didn't even, the child was alive to God and was able to hear, they were like, what are you talking about? But the child knew, because some children have not broken off that thing yet, so they hear God pretty clearly. And you'll have little kids tell you stuff that's kind of amazing. You need to listen, because they still are connected. But at a certain part, they disconnect. Yes, ma'am. But speak out.
When I was 7 years old,
Uh-huh.
we had a period of teaching and all that.
Right.
And about around,
Uh-huh.
and many of us accepted Christ.
At 7.
Yes.
Did they let you?
We had been studying, about it.
Right.
And one of the girls, her name was Lena, we didn't have a pool at our church. But one of the larger churches let our pastor, baptize us.
Right.
Because when the church heard to be baptized, she was afraid or something. She would not be baptized, so I don't know. It was her choice.
Right.
So I don't really know what
She's
happened.
burning in hell right now, just want you to know. No, I'm just kidding. Mom, let it go. You never met me before? I make stuff up. Yeah, I don't know why she was afraid to get in the pool.
I don't know either, but she would not let them baptize. So I'm not really sure what happened. I imagine that later in life,
Yeah, hopefully.
However, isn't there, water doesn't do it.
Right, I mean,
Maybe she was fearful of water, and that didn't mean she was saved.
exactly.
Maybe the ritual that you took, you would probably.
She may have been afraid of water.
Right.
It had nothing to do with being afraid of Jesus.
Water don't do it yet. Yeah.
Or maybe she was demon possessed and even with none of it in that water.
Yeah, but water get hot.
So anyway, it says the spirit wars against the spirit, the flesh against the flesh. It's the contrary to one another so that you do not do things that you wish. Let's read with Job chapter 32, verse 8.
All right. There's the spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty give him understanding.
So there is a spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty gives that your spirit understanding. And so that's how we're born. We are born alive to God. We are born connected. And when we get reconnected,
Bye.
yes, by accepting Christ, by admitting we're a sinner, once we get reconnected, then we need to learn to listen to the Spirit of God, understand that He's speaking to our spirit, and we try our hardest not to listen to the flesh. Let's look at John chapter 3, verse 6 through 7.
That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the spirit is spirit. Do not marvel that I said to you, you must be born again.
So the flesh and spirit are two separate things. When your flesh is born, but what is born of the spirit? He's saying that which is born of the spirit. So God put your spirit in you. All Adam and Eve could do was give us flesh. All your parents could do was give you the flesh. But God put your spirit in you. He does not put a dead spirit in you. He puts a live spirit in you when you are born. But at a certain point, we disconnect from God. And that's why Jesus says you got to be born again. So we were born alive the first time. That's what born again means. It means I got to reconnect. I was connected. I got disconnected. And at a certain point, we got reconnected to God. So we are not born a sinner. We are not born dead. We are born alive to God. At a certain point in our life, we decide to do our own thing and we disconnect. But our children, when they are little, are alive to God. And then at a certain point, they become very conscious of right and wrong, and they decide to do their own thing. They're not going to listen, and that's when they disconnect. So, Paul is explaining, I have been a Pharisee since my youth. That's how I chose to get to heaven. I thought that was the way to get to heaven, was follow the law. But at a certain point, he realized that he coveted. I think that we see it in the book of Mark. But at a certain point, he says, I realized that covetousness was in my nature, and I couldn't fulfill the law. And that's when I died. That's when I realized I was dead. But he had been a sinner. That's when it hit him, oh man, I've been sinning all this time. I've been sinning for years. That's not when he actually, that's not when when he realized that he coveted was when he realized he'd been a sinner. And so, in Acts chapter 26, verse 9 through 10, verse 13 and 14, he takes his anger out on Jesus. Jesus is the one who pointed out that he was a sinner. Let's read verses 9 and 10.
Indeed, I myself thought I must do many things contrary to the name of Jesus of Nazareth. This I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests. And when they were put to death, I cast my vote against them.
So this Paul is saying, I did everything I could to bring Jesus down. I think it's because he was angry at Jesus, because Jesus is the one that pointed out that he was a sinner. And that made him mad. So I'm going to hurt Jesus everywhere I can. So he says, I put all of his followers in jail. And the chief priests, they gave me permission to do it. And when they said that we're going to execute them, I cast my vote and said, yes, execute them. Because he's trying to put everybody who follows Jesus in jail, because he doesn't want to hear it. Because if you believe Jesus, Paul's saying, then I've been a sinner my whole life. That means my whole life has been a fraud. And that's upsetting to him. So he wanted to erase it all. Now we know what happened, verse 13. Oh, yes, sir.
But this is back before we were doing his conversion of the spirits that he's talking about here.
Yes, before he got saved.
Right, so this is when he's down there getting out of the beach and all that on his way to do some more persecution. So he's showing the old Paul the way the old Paul thought.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
Yes, thank you. So that's how he used to think. I've got to stamp out Jesus because he made me realize I was a sinner. So I'm trying to, so this is before he got saved. So when he was Saul, so he's trying to get rid of all Christians because he's angry at Jesus. And he says in verse 13. Someone read verse 13.
At midday, O king, along the road I saw a light from heaven, brighter than the sun, shining around me, and those who journeyed with me. And when we all had fallen, to the ground, I heard a voice speaking to me, saying in the Hebrew language, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? It is hard for you to kick against the goad.
The goat. Right. You're like banging your head against the wall. That's what we can say today. Why are you banging your head against the wall? That's like, why are you doing that? The wall's not going to go nowhere. You're just going to damage your head. So that's what Jesus is saying. Why are you persecuting me? So this is that same Jesus who had made him realize he was a sinner. And instead of this is like, why are you being angry? Because that's how we respond to the truth.
When he shows that we're wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Instead of going, wow, I should change, we'd rather change the truth. We would rather destroy the truth than change ourselves.
It was like the humanity. Yesterday we had a conversation in my house. My father-in-law does not like to admit certain things. You know, when we're talking about the man and the evil, he excuses his oldest son for not showing up. They're moving to a new house. So I've been helping him do that, and I'm the son-in-law. So everybody's mad because the son-in-law is doing more than the son. So when I bring it up, I say, well, Solomon comes over to help, you can get it done. And then instead of him saying, you're right, he makes all these other excuses.
Right.
And then keep saying my father won't go direct and just take the truth. But when he does admit it, he'll give him an out. You know, so we're talking about the ego, the part of you that you just don't want to say, I'm wrong. Because when you find yourself and you think self has been good,
Right.
you know, then you have an issue. So we were discussing, I said, try that. Just say, okay, I'm wrong.
Right.
It takes a lot. I get kind of like, I need to have an, I'm guilty with reasonable, what they say in court. I'm guilty with a reasonable explanation. We want to explain it to soften the blow.
Right.
What it is what it is.
Yeah, if you're just wrong.
And
But
that's
who wants to look at their life and say, what I've been doing for 30 years is
what
wrong?
it is. Yeah, they'll tell you that.
Right. So we'll keep fighting. We got something going on.
Something, that's why I call it.
Right. So we'll keep fighting. We'll keep fighting in order to prove we're right.
Yeah.
Even though it's clearly we're wrong and things are not working out the way they're supposed to work out, Paul kept fighting. I'm going to destroy that Jesus, he doesn't, because if Jesus is right, then his whole life has been a lie. And no one wants to admit that. So Jesus finally has to appear to him and says, why are you persecuting me? Now, here's his response to that. Galatians chapter 1, verse 15 through 16.
But when it pleased God, he separated me from my mother's womb and called me through his grace reveal his son in me, that I might preach him among the Gentiles.
So he says, God separated me from my mother's womb and called me through his grace. What is that?
Right.
Yeah, but it's okay. He's doing something. I'm sure he's doing something for him. It pleased God. God separated me from my mother's womb. What does that mean? And called me.
When he first entered the world, God placed his hand on him, that
Right. God placed his hand on him when he was
just born.
right. In your mother's womb. God already knows your destiny when you're in the womb. You have a calling on you. He says, so I was called to do what I'm doing now. I was fighting it for my whole life. But that's when I was called. God doesn't call you once you become a Christian. Now I'm a Christian. Now he's going to turn me around. And your calling started when you were born. So God does not judge your life and then pick the best people and say, okay, you get to be a minister. In the womb, there's a call. Some people reject that call. Some people receive that call. But there are people in the world who I watch who probably should be preaching. But they're staying in the world. You can look at them and see that there's a call on them, but they're using all their skill for the devil instead of using it for the Lord. Did you have a question?
Yeah, Jacob, I love it. Esau hated before the children were born.
Right, before they were born, he knew which ones were going to follow him, which ones were going to reject him. So God knows those of us who are going to respond to him. And so let's look at Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5.
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations.
So before you're born in the womb, I knew what your choice was going to be. Here's what God doesn't do. He doesn't put in you the right choice. He knows what you're going to choose. So he doesn't say, okay, I'm making you a good person, I'm making you a bad person. He makes us all equal, but he gives us the choice. He simply knows who's going to choose him and who's not. Now, you may not choose until you're 15. You may not choose until you're 45. You may not choose until you're 70. But he knows who's going to choose. And so he anoints you like Rodney. He anoints you from the beginning. Now, you're running from it. You're going other ways. And he knows at what point you're finally going to choose him. But that's not when the call showed up. The call has been there your whole life. You just weren't using it for him. You were using it for something else. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the people of Jerusalem, probably even Paul himself, I'm just person, had strong belief in these laws, these policies.
Right.
So that's probably why they took shame with what he said. And they said, oh, we gotta make a personal crusade. Who is this man to come here now and say, till I do is like what we doing is right. It's not right or wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. What you're saying is exactly right. That's why they were mad at Jesus. You're saying that the way we've been doing it is wrong. Now, Paul is realizing, so let's go one step farther. Paul's realizing that I actually had a call, and I was using it the wrong way. Paul had a call in his life, but he was using it to be a Pharisee. When God wanted him to use all that zeal and all that anger, all that passion he had, he wanted him to use it for him and to go out and preach to the Gentiles. So Paul is now realizing I was putting my energy into the wrong thing. And that's why I was mad at God. But now, I'm using it for the right thing.
I'm thinking about Paula
Franklin?
being born a singer.
Yes.
The song and the ability to sing
Yes, sir.
is already been there. She can go to school, learn how to do that. And
Right.
that's always will go.
Right.
And get that. So the talent and the gift was already there. But how she uses it, I don't know preaching to this relationship, but the song or her talent gift was always there, is what
Yes.
I'm saying. So that's the sanctified, that's the calling from the womb.
Yes.
She's always been a singer, whether she acknowledged it or not, but her melodious voice has always been there, manifesting in one way or the other.
Right. And there is a point in Paula's life where it clicked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use this for the Lord
Right.
in the right way. So Paula will tell you she was singing in the church,
Okay.
but she was not she was just singing in the church. The people who sing in the church doesn't mean they're doing it for God, right? And then she'll tell you there's a point where it clicked. Where she just totally dedicated her life and used her time. That's when she was sanctified.
Right. That part.
Okay, so let's look at Romans chapter 8, verse 29 through 30.
For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son.
So what do you mean by foreknew? He knew that you were going to make the choice that you did. So once he knows Rodney's going to make his choice for the Lord, then he already set things in his path to make sure that he ends up where he's supposed to go. Okay, so for him he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son.
It might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called. Whom he called, these he also justified. And whom he justified, these he also.
Right. So the call happens in the womb. The call happens. He's always calling. Here's where you need to go. Here's where you need to be. And a lot of people ignore it for years, but then they'll finally answer the call. But the call doesn't start when you walk into the church. It started when you were born. Something was telling you what to do, but like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing. So, but once he knows that you're going to choose him, he sets your destiny in a certain way. And then he calls you. And he sanctifies you, he separates you for his use. Because he knows what you're going to do. But it doesn't matter when you're going to decide. There are people who get saved at 70 years old.
Can you talk about the justification part?
Yes, these he also called, he justifies us, meaning he makes that person righteous. He makes that person righteous. So, and he does it in a certain order, right? But if he's called you, then eventually he's going to justify you. He's going to make you righteous before him, right? And those who he's justified, then he has a glorified body waiting for you. So there are things that God is doing for us way in advance. They haven't happened yet, but they're going to happen. But in God's mind, it's already done. I've already got this body waiting for you. So the flesh will no longer be a problem once you get to the other side. You won't be fighting the flesh and fighting the world and fighting the devil. We're able to do exactly what God wants us to do because we're going to have a glorified body. So he's already got it waiting. It's like somebody who's already got your tuxedo and your limo already set. That's already done. I've already paid for it. It's already done. You're just waiting for the prom to happen, but it's already all paid for, already done.
That's predestined.
Right.
Right.
You already got the
Predetermined again.
Well, yes, but in this case, he puts things in your path, and he knows where you're going, but he's got to make you choose it. So God, like with the GPS, you want to turn down that street, but it says road closed. Okay, so unless you're crazy and you're going to just drive through the sign, and I guess some people might just drive through and drive off the bridge.
Right.
He puts certain roadblocks that forces us to make choices. Now, we don't have to. You can drive right through the roadblock sign if you want to, but he knows what it is that's going to make you decide to choose him. So he puts those things in your path so that eventually you make certain choices toward him. It's always our choice, but he knows what things to put in your path so that you will choose him. So Paul's saying, since I'm my youth, I've had a call, and finally I realized it. In Acts chapter 26, verse 24 to 26.
Now as he thus made his defense, Festus said with a loud voice, Paul, you are beside yourself. Much learning is driving you mad. But he said, I am not mad, Festus, but speak the words of truth and reason.
So what I'm saying, I'm speaking truth. I finally heard the truth, and I'm following it. The flesh, the world, the devil, they try to get you to believe the lie. Only what God tells us is the truth. And he said, now I'm finally speaking the truth. It may sound crazy, but I'm finally speaking the truth. This is what Jesus said to Pilate. He was in the very same position that Festus and Paul. In John chapter 18, verse 37.
Pilate therefore said to him, are you a king then? Jesus answered, you say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice.
Everyone who is of the truth, here's my voice. So if you've been called, then you eventually hear his voice. So Jesus calls everybody, but only certain people actually hear it and follow it. But the call goes out to those people who just ignore it. But if you're of the truth, you'll hear his voice and you'll eventually do what he's wanting you to do. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm under the impression that he came with, oh, I'm gonna come to Agrippa,
King Agrippa.
right, to do missionary work. He said, well, I'm not gonna come there as that, I'm gonna come as a prisoner, but you're still gonna do missionary work.
Right. That's exactly right. So Paul thought, here's how I'm going to get to Rome. I'm going to get to Rome as a missionary. But instead, he got to Rome as a prisoner. But he still got to Rome because God had predetermined that's where he was going to end up.
I know, but it's like going on Southwest Virginia. You don't go on Southwest, you actually on Delta. You ever been on Delta?
Yes.
It's a real small plane.
Right.
It's not comfortable.
Right. But it still takes you to the same destination. Is that what you're saying? You still end up getting there. You're just not getting there the comfortable way that you wanted to get there. Right?
Carry on.
Okay. Acts chapter 26, verse 28 to 29, and verse 32.
And Agrippa said to Paul, you almost persuaded me.
Yes, sir. Almost.
Paul said, I would to God
Yes, sir.
that not only you, but also all who hear me today might become both almost and altogether such as I am, except for these chains.
Yeah, I want you to be just like me, except for this change.
Then Agrippa said to Festus, this man might have been set free if he had not appealed to Caesar.
So Paul finally said the right thing, and he might have been set free, except he said, I want to go see Caesar. And they were ready to let him go, but he said, I need to go. So they're about to send him to Rome. But that's where Jesus wanted him to go anyway. But Paul finally said the right thing, which is send me to Caesar. God put enough in Paul's path, made him scared enough. I need to get away from these Jews, send me to Caesar. And the truth is, he would have been set free except for that one statement. Except it's okay that he made that statement. That's where God wanted him to go anyway. That's where God wanted him to go. But he had to pressure Paul into saying the right thing. And God will eventually put enough in our path that we finally will say, okay, I give up, let's do this way. And that's exactly what God wants you to finally do. But God doesn't ever make us do anything. We have to always choose it. He just puts enough pressure around us that we will finally come to the end of ourselves and actually choose the right thing. So Paul ends up saying, they send Paul to Rome. That's where he was supposed to go all along. But the only way he got there was through his own mouth. Yes,
And
sir.
I think that the part I like is, I think it helps to do the work of the Lord.
Yes.
So it's not that crushing and the beating is not just because he want to crush you and beat you or lead to your path.
Right.
But he has it, all the gifts and all that to be one spirit and also glorify him.
Right.
Which allows, I see this word, that the campaign for people to know who Christ is. Right? It's the drawing of the saints or the angels to become saints.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just to glorify because Paul is preaching so well, but the gifts he had and other people that have it, get preaching, teaching and all that, is to get him the glory, to ultimately get to his goal.
Yes.
Which is that all men we say, that no man compares.
So all these things work together for our good because they shape us more to the image of Christ and they get us along his path. So God doesn't send stuff at us to mess us up. It actually to help us be more like him so that we end up where we're supposed to be, where we'll be the most effective. We think we'll be effective over here, but he knows, no, the gift I gave you is only going to work over there.
But then when you get there, you're glad you're there.
Right. You go, oh.
A true, I don't want to take the last, but the truth is what you fight. Then once you've been sanctified and justified in that, then you walk in it. And I was thinking how I've been writing sermons for 37 years, and I never get tired of writing. It may not be the best sermons or something. I look at some of the stuff 30 years ago, I go, my God, did I write that? But the point is, I was writing.
Right.
So you just improve as time goes on.
Right.
You get more enmeshment.
God keeps
You
saying-
in that relationship, become better, become new. So I was looking at this, Kurt Franklin, he's doing a little album. And they asked him a question. The little girl said, how does it feel to be Kurt Franklin and writing a little thing? He said, I'm scared to death. She said, but you've been doing this over 30 years. She said, the good part about this, I got fear in you, so I won't fall out of the will of God.
Right, you won't just take it for granted.
Right.
God's gonna say, you have to keep holding to God's hand. Amen. Were there any questions?
It's the end of Acts, right? It's the last one.
Huh?
It's the end of Acts.
No, one more.
Well, there's a couple more chapters.
27.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so we have chapter 28. But he's on his way to Rome, finally. Now, again, we're going to start looking at the book of Revelations. And the end times, that's our next series. Which we But yeah, so we're almost done with the book of Acts. But Paul's got a journey to go through before he gets to Rome. So even now that he's headed in the right direction, he's still going to go through a lot before he gets there. So we'll be checking out chapter 27. All right, let's bow our heads.